They say the housing market is what has destroyed the economy and that our recovery will not take place until the real estate market comes out of intensive care. But just how is the Bronx doing? What has affected the Bronx? Today we have Ricardo Gonzalez, a real estate broker here in the Bronx and throughout New York, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what's going on in the city. It's a pleasure having you on the program, Ricardo.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about New York, because we hear in general terms about how the real estate market is doing terrible nationwide. We hear about some parts of the nation where the problem is even worse. Florida, parts of California. Is New York as bad? Is it as bad in New York, or is it better here?
Well, I'm going to make many people mad. The people who are doing bad is bad. The people who are doing well is good. Situation is New York is a totally different market. I think the real estate market is not being affected the way other part of the country been. Why? Because there's more resources, there are more people, there are many different ways of going about, keeping the economy afloat. Places like Florida, you sell a house and you buy a house. Here, there's so many other different things. There are houses, there are buildings, there are rentals, there are so many options. What is affecting the real estate market is the loans. People would like to buy.
The banks.
The banks
not
are the
loaning
problems.
enough money.
Exactly.
So that's slowed things down.
Exactly.
But has property value in New York remained fairly stable compared to other parts of the country?
Oh yeah. They lost value, some value, but it's not as much as other places. As some properties lost 50% of the value.
So what about the Bronx in particular? Is that happening here in particular, or
are
people moving in or out of the Bronx?
Well, the Bronx is a challenge. The Bronx is a great place to do business today. Why? Because if you want to live in the Bronx, there are many, many good places that you can get more for your money compared to Manhattan.
Of course.
If you want to buy in the Bronx, you can buy, multifamily units, where you can live in one and rent others. You can buy buildings. You can buy luxury condos or co-ops. So the Bronx has everything.
More variety than Manhattan and perhaps other boroughs as well?
Exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
So it's a good place to come move to or to come buy?
Yes.
Property right now? Because, there's a lot of people who are saying, for a long, long time have been saying things are going down, it's not a good time to buy. Wait until it hits the bottom. Are we at the bottom? Should people start buying now?
Well,
those who have the money.
People want to start buying. They cannot get the money from the banks. So I think, I cannot say we hit the bottom, but we are very close. Once the banks start giving money to people, people are going to start buying. That's the only, because owners that want to sell, they don't want to keep lowering the prices. Because right now, if you keep lowering the price, doesn't mean that the person is going to get the loan.
Absolutely.
So that's the situation. $50,000 in a property value affects the person who's selling. For the buyer, getting $500,000 and getting $450 is the same problem.
But so it's still, right now, it's a buyer's market. It's definitely not a seller's market.
Yes, it is.
Because if you're selling right now, the advice is maybe you should wait until things get a little better.
That's correct.
Okay, so if you're trying to buy a home in the Bronx, okay, and let's say you have, let me run this little test through you.
Okay.
What about if you have $200,000? What can you get in the Bronx?
Not much. Not much. You can get a co-op, a one-bedroom co-op, maybe a condo, certain areas. See, the particular part about the Bronx is that you can have $1.5 million one-bedroom condo
in a particular area,
and you can have $100,000 or $150,000 one-bedroom condo or a co-op.
Same amount of square footage.
Pretty similar. Depends on the neighborhood. So it's difficult to really determine, which one, is doing better. Of course, the financial crisis, the Wall Street crisis affected the high-end market. That's the first one suffering, because not a lot of people are buying $2 or $3 million homes anymore.
So, but let's say you got, let's take you up a little bit. 200,000 was very little, you said. 300,000. What can you get in the Bronx for 300,000?
Well, you can get a two-bedroom. You can get a one-bedroom.
Apartment or house?
Apartments. Houses. If you buy a rundown place that went to foreclosure and you have a lot of money to buy it and a lot of money to, fix it,
refurbish or whatever, yes.
Everything, But at the end of the day, it's going to bring the money that you put in as if you spend $500,000. So, you know, it is kind of tricky.
So in other words, you can't get a really, really good single family home and in good shape for less than $500,000.
No, exactly.
In New York City nowadays, not just in the Bronx, but anywhere.
Right, right.
Is that different than it was 3 years ago?
Well, I would go more like 4 years ago. 4 years ago, getting a house was difficult because the price was going up every single day. You put an offer in a house, and the landlord had, the person who was selling, 5 different offers. And you can raise your price for $100,000 in a $500,000 house, you know? So it was a different game. Today, if you don't do the right thing, you can lose $100,000 in an offer if you don't get the right offer. I have clients that lost $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 because they say, well, I want this money.
Isn't part of the problem also that a lot of people, when the market was doing so well, a lot of people invested in property, rented this property out, and then now went underwater because they owe more than they can actually pay every month for this property?
Well, I think that was a problem in America in general. I mean, everybody lives on credit. So people were buying stuff that they couldn't afford. So and they didn't really look into the, you know, fine print of the loans. So adjustable loans were, you know, something that nobody paid attention to. Now everybody's paying attention because
the adjustment went up.
The adjustment went up. So
Right.
now they can't afford it. So since they can't afford it, they have to sell it.
Now they're realizing that a fixed mortgage would have been much better.
To me, it's the only way to go.
So is foreclosure the key word nowadays? Because I hear that nowadays, if you're trying to sell a house, you might interest the buyers if you tell them, oh, the house is in foreclosure. It's like the key word now that gets people to buy. They want to get that bargain because they figure that the housing market is down so low that they can get a bargain. So the key word to use if you want to try to sell them something is, oh, this house is really cheap because it's in foreclosure. Is that happening? Is that?
Well, right now, the particular thing about foreclosure, that years ago, you can get a foreclosure for really cheap. But today, because the price of the houses were so high when they were bought, okay? And now the price, let's say you bought a house for $600,000, all right? And you pay, let's say, $100 down, and you have a mortgage for $500,000. The bank, you're going to go foreclosure. The bank doesn't want to sell it for $250,000. They want to try to get more. Mm-hmm. But the house today is $300,000 or $400,000. So actually, you know, it's difficult to get a deal because to get a deal, actually, you're getting the price market that you're getting today. So it's difficult, you know, and you have to have a lot of cash. There's a lot of people that go and write checks and buy 5 or 6, 7 houses as an investment, put them in there and wait for 10 years. Mm. So it's very difficult. The procedure to buy in foreclosure is very difficult, which discourage many people. You see ads on TV, buy a house for $2,000. Well,
and you see all those commercials in the middle of the night about how you can get rich in real estate. You're an experienced person.
Right.
I mean, do you believe what they're saying when you see these?
You know what? You cannot get rich overnight in any kind of
Especially
profession.
Nowadays, right?
Exactly.
Because again, the picture that they present is that now is the perfect time to get rich on real estate.
Well, actually, you're going to get rich if you buy something and you can keep it for 10 years. So there you can make a difference. But again, always the good investments are the long term. You know, flipping houses is not a good business anymore. Mm. You know, going to the stock market for a week and sell and make a profit doesn't happen anymore. So I think America changed in that way. We need to be more patient and more, you know, organized as to where we put our money and not trying to get the return so quickly.
Mm. When we come back, we're going to keep talking to Ricardo Gonzalez about rental properties in the Bronx. What does it take? I just asked him what does it take to buy a home. We're going to find out what does it take to rent a home in the Bronx. And another thing that is happening around the country is that people are finding that they actually, you know, their house used to be $500,000. Mm-hmm. Now it's worth $300,000, but the government is still taxing them for a $500,000 house. That's a huge problem. So we're going to talk about that when we come back.